Hi, Leah. I am.
Oh, is Jeff playing? Cool. Does he need an outline? Like has one. Okay. Oh, thanks.
La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Same thing. La 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 la. One more time. To the beginning. To the B part. Just voices.
Welcome everyone. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
On behalf of Rabbi Grunwald, Eitan, this amazing group of musicians, and all our West Siders and staff, we want to wish everyone a Shabbat Shalom and thank you for being with us tonight. We have a special Shabbat here tonight because this is West Side Shabbat and it's an Azamra. We are going to be walking through this Kabbalat Shabbat service just like we do every week. Kabbalat Shabbat is a series liturgically of songs that are poems and psalms written from different times throughout Jewish history. There's a psalm for each day, and there's psalms from many different time periods throughout our history. And the Kabbalat Shabbat experience is the experience of walking through the week we've had while we simultaneously, every week, walk through history. And we receive Shabbat through that journey. But this Shabbat, we are also going to be walking through our history as the HEA. We are not only walking through Psalms throughout time, we are not only walking through Psalms of each day, but we are also going to be recalling stories from our beloved West Siders about the journey that this congregation has taken, our collective story. And as Jews, we are familiar with the importance of having collective stories. I want to thank the people that have helped to put this project together. Tonight we're going to be hearing from 4 different West Siders. The first will be in just a little bit from our own Cherie Carl Schwartz. And I want to thank Cherie, I want to thank Norman Chandler and Eileen Naiman for their tremendous work in putting together these West Side stories, which you'll have an opportunity to take home with you if you would like, a whole collection. I want to thank Morty Kadovich, Shira Teed, and James McKeon from our staff who have been working on this project together. This has been a beautiful project and a tremendous amount of holy work to collect the stories of people from the West Side, from our congregation, and I look forward to having you have an opportunity to share that. And now, we're gonna begin our service with Yedid Nefesh. And in Yedid Nefesh, we find the words that our beloved God, who holds us dearly, helps us to create a Sukkot Shlomach, a sukkah of peace. Tonight we're going to end our night together with a beautiful dinner in our sukkah. But here in this space now, over the next hour, we're going to be creating our own sukkah of peace, a place of song and connection, of collective memory and new beginnings. I invite you to turn to page 10 in your Siddur for Yedid Nefesh.
Yedid nefesh, avarachaman, neshochada, eretzonach, yarutz avdach, kemo Deharo תתחזק ותתרפא וההטלה שמחת עולם. To the yadadais. Iri la 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 la, iri la 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 la, iri la 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 la, iri la 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 la, iri la 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 la, iri la 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 la, ha la 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 la, la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ha la 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 la.
It's now my absolute pleasure to invite up the one and only Cherie Carl Schwartz, a master storyteller who's going to kick us off with our stories tonight and frame us a little bit more. Welcome up.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
It is so wondrous to be able to be here and share not only Shabbos, and I'm sorry that I am going back to all of you, but we have stories to share. Stories from the west side of Denver that was kind of a Brigadoon Camelot for so long, and where many, many of you, how many of you have connection to the west side? Oh my goodness, look at that. Beauteous. And these stories live on. You're going to be hearing stories from Eileen Naiman, from Heshi Zeppelin, from Beth Radetzky, and I'll start us off with a little story as well. So, on the west side, where my mama says there were more shuls than there were gas stations, on the west side, before 1932, before the beginning of HEA, my Zadie came from a small town called Ostrov Lubelski in Poland, where Goldie Smith's family came from, where Stan Kamlet's family came from, and where many other families came from. They were all Landsleit, like cousins. And in this time and this place, they had a magnificent community. And my Zadie bought the duplex at 1403 Mead Street, and it was just off of Colfax. So in 1932, when people went down to the train station, they went down to meet the beardless, wifeless Rabbi Manuel Lederman, the first rabbi of the Alliance. My Zadie was there. He was a very quiet man, but he was there. And sure enough, the people who belonged to the Ostover Shul and the people who belonged to lots of the other shuls, they all also had membership in the Alliance. My Zadie was there for all the minyanim. Rabbi Lederman would eat in my Bobby and Zadie's house. And very quietly sometimes, someone would come knock on the door, or a phone would ring, and my Zadie would say, "I'll be back." And that meant he was off because he was in the Chevra Kadisha, the burial society, and it was his job to be there and help escort those who had left this earth from the minutes of their passing. And so Zadie would return again, and he was always, always welcomed by all the people in the community because he owned Kentucky Tailors. Kentucky Tailors, and that was not the name that he would have chosen, but it was the name that was on the building. So he sold fine consignment men's clothes. He did repairs and tailor work, but if there was somebody who was standing outside of the shop and he had a threadbare shirt, Zadie made sure that he left with a shirt. Well, one day Zadie was in his shop, and he heard a commotion coming from a tumult from the end of the street, and he looked outside to see what it was, and people were running away from that end of the street, and they were screaming, "Fire! Fire!" And Zadie looked out, and he knew that the only thing that was at the end of that street was none other than the popcorn man. The popcorn man had a little cart. On that cart was a popcorn making machine. And somehow, with the flame that was under the great big metal pot that popped the popcorn, a spark from that had landed on the popcorn man's clothes, and he had caught fire. And all the rest of the people were running away. My Zadie turned around, Itzalolish, and he grabbed the biggest wool coat that he could find on that table. If he had sold that coat, he could have fed his family for 2 weeks, a month. But he didn't care. He grabbed that coat, he ran out of the store, he ran down to the end of the street, and he wrapped it around the popcorn man, put him on the ground, and rolled him until the fire was out. He saved the popcorn man's life. My mama says that for a long time thereafter, many, many Friday afternoons, when Bobby would say, "Go find your papa, go find your papa, he's coming back from the minyan, he's coming back from work, he's coming back from wherever." Many of those Friday afternoons, Zadie would come walking down the street, and Mom could see that his arms were filled with bag after bag after bag of popcorn. Zadie was quiet. Zadie lived a good life, but only 83 years. And when he died, Rabbi Lederman was in the hospital. He had pneumonia, so he wasn't able to do the funeral. But he got somebody in the shul, somebody at the Alliance, to bring in his typewriter and bring in some paper, and out of his own mind and out of his own heart, he created the chesped, the eulogy for my Zadie, so that it could be read at the funeral. The stories live on. Each of you, no matter where you've come from, no matter what you've seen and what you've experienced in your life from other places and what brought you here, or if you've been here for 5 generations, each one of you has stories, and they are precious. Tonight, you will hear from 3 more people from the West Side, and you will be able to enjoy and kfel over their stories. And in the sukkah, while we're all enjoying the soup that's made from so many ingredients, you'll have a chance to share many more of your stories. Toda rabah. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Yasher koach. Beautiful. Thank you, Cherie. We continue on page 11 with L'chu Neranena.
I'm just drinking in that story a little bit, taking in a breath, and it feels hard to go right into song, but in this next song we have a little bit of an on-ramp into the song, just a little drone that we can sing on the word L'chu. We'll sing it for 4 beats together, so it'll be like this. L'chu, L'chu, L'chu. Let's keep that going. Lechu neranena l'Adonai, Lechu naria letzur yishenu, Lechu neranena l'Adonai, Lechu naria letzur yishenu, Lechu neranena l'Adonai, Lechu naria letzur yishenu, nekadma fanav v'toda, v'zmirot naria lo, nekadma fanav v'toda, v'zmirot naria lo, lechu neranena l'Adonai, lechu naria letzur yishenu, lechu neranena l'Adonai, lechu naria letzur yishenu, nekadma fanav v'toda, v'zmirot naria lo, nekadma fanav v'toda, v'zmirot naria nekadma fanav v'toda, v'zmirot naria lo, nekadma fanav v'toda, v'zmirot naria lo, lechu.
We turn to page 13. Shiru Ladonai, Shir Chadash.
This one's got a pretty short and repetitive melody, and so I like to use it as an opportunity for a little bit of a listening practice. And in this spirit of memory and thinking about some of the stories from the West Side, I want to give us an opportunity as we're singing this song to listen for other voices. And the first couple times we sing it, I want you to listen to another voice, a specific other voice in this room. And then, once we've been in the song for a little while, I invite you to listen to a voice that's not in this room. It can be somebody that's with us in this world. It can be somebody that has moved to the next world. But to take the opportunity to hear somebody's voice singing with you that's not in the room right now. This is Shiru Ladonai. Shiru Ladonai, Shir Chadash, Shiru Ladonai, Kol haaretz, Shiru Ladonai, Shir Chadash, Shiru Ladonai, Kol haaretz. Here's somebody in this room. Shiru Ladonai, Shir Chadash, Shiru Ladonai, Kol haaretz, Shiru Ladonai, Shir Chadash, Shir Ladonai, Kol haaretz. Now somebody that's not in this room. Shiru Ladonai, Shir Chadash, Shiru Ladonai, Kol haaretz, Shiru Ladonai, Hadash. Shir Adonai. Kol haaretz. Just voices now, just voices. Shir Adonai. Shir Hadash. Shir Adonai. Kol haaretz. Shir Adonai. Shir Hadash. Shir Adonai. Kol haaretz.
We turn to page 20 at the red triangle towards the bottom of the page for Romemu.
Romemu Adonai Eloheinu Veishtachavu Lehar Kosho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu Veishtachavu Lehar Kosho. Ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. Ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu Veishtachavu Lehar Kosho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu Veishtachavu Lehar Kosho. Ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. Ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu Veishtachavu Lehar Kosho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu Veishtachavu Lehar Kosho. Ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. Ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu Veishtachavu Lehar Kosho.
It's now my absolute pleasure to invite up Eileen Naiman to share her story.
And I also just want to make sure that we honor all of the people from the staff of HEA, especially Shira and Morty and James for helping out so much, and for all of the 30 contributors to our book, and Norm Chandler for doing a wonderful job in helping us draw. Thank you. Eileen.
Good Shabbos, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. My name is Eileen Silverman Naiman, and I grew up on 13th and Utica Street, which is just south of West Colfax and close to Sheridan Boulevard. My mother was also a native West Sider. My mother was Margaret. We called her Malka. She went by her name, Malka, all the time. And so my mother and I went to synagogue on the Kanea Street Shul on Stewart Street, and we went on Shabbos, and there were greeters at the door called trustees or welcome committee or greeters. two gentlemen gave out the books, the Siddurim, and we read from those books and went into the synagogue. Women sat in the back, men sat in the front. There were not mixed seating at that time. So we davened, we went into the Kiddush. The menu of the Kiddush was marinated herring, kichel, fruit cocktail, honey cake, and soda, pop, and coffee. And we thought that was the best. So after a while, one of these trustee gentlemen came up to me and we started talking. And his name is David Malcolm Naaman. So this continued every Shabbos. We went to shul, and we started conversations at the herring table, Kiddush. And so this went on for a while, and then we dated. We started dating. David called me for a date and said, would you like to go out to a movie or whatever? And I said, yes. So we went to a movie, and we dated for quite a while. And then one Saturday, or before Saturday, he called me up and he said, let's go to dinner, and we'll go to dinner downtown. So I said, okay. So I got all dressed up in my little black dress, and David picked me up. And during this time, when he closed his office, his law firm, he would come to the house and have dinner with my mother and myself. And he really enjoyed that. So we got to know him a little bit more. So anyways, the night came. It was a Saturday night in July, and David picked me up. And we got in the car. He always opened the door. He was a gentleman that way, always. And we started driving from my house down to Colfax Avenue. And so instead of going on Colfax Avenue, he turned on Stewart Street, right by the shul, on Canais and Stewart Street. I said, what are we doing? We're going downtown over the Colfax Viaduct. He said, well, let's go up here. I want to stop at the shul for a minute and see what's going on. I said, nothing is going on. I don't know of anything going on here. So he said, come on, we'll go see. Maybe there is. So he opened the door again. I got out of the car. We walked up those big, long, wide steps, came to the beautiful doors of the shul, and we stood there. And I said, there's nothing going on. And he said, there is. He handed me a corsage box, a white box. And I opened the box. He said, open it up. And on top was a gorgeous white orchid corsage. And I said, oh my God, this is gorgeous. And he pinned it on my shoulder, on my little black dress. And there was another box under the big box where we took out the orchid corsage. And I said, what is this? And he said, open it. So I opened it, and my eyes just popped out of my head. It was the most gorgeous diamond ring that I saw. And I said, oh my God. And tears started rolling down my face, and my mascara and all my makeup was all over my little black dress. And so he took my hand, he put the ring on, and he said, will you marry me? And I said, yes. So that is the story of my beginnings of the Hebrew Alliance and my association with Rabbi Emanuel Lederman. And we dated for quite a while, and we started talking about getting ready for a wedding. And so that day came about, and we got married on March 23rd, 1986. And we got married at the Stewart Street shul at the Alliance. We had about 180 guests. We had a full sit-down kosher dinner catered by Oscar Singer. And we had the dance band of Mr. Levy. I forgot his first name, Nate Levy. In those days, we didn't have strobe lights, and we didn't have a disc jockey, so we had beautiful music to dance by. And so Rabbi Lederman, Manuel Lederman, and Rabbi Daniel Goldberger married us on March 23rd, 1986. And it's been a beautiful union, and we had a beautiful, beautiful life. We shared so many beautiful things. And so that is my story of my West Side connection. There's a lot more stories. Time doesn't permit us to talk about it now. But I'm sure my David is smiling and kind of laughing and saying that he's hearing it all. So I wish you all a Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom. I guess it was that pickled herring from Kiddush that really put the love in the air, huh?
Thank you, Eileen. Beautiful. We turn to page 22 for Anna Bekoach.
Anna bekoach gedulat yemincha tatir tzerura kabel rinat amcha sagveinu tareinu nora Anna bekoach gedulat yemincha tatir tzerura kabel rinat amcha sagveinu tareinu nora lili la 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 lili 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 la la Just voices. Anna bekoach gedulat yemincha tatir tzerura kabel rinat amcha sagveinu tareinu nora lili la la ho lili la la lili la la lili la la lili la la
We turn to page 23 for Lecha Dodi.
Let me share your secret.
Yes.
Thanks.
Always.
Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad Ishmianu el ha'meyuchad Adonai echad u'shmo echad Shemo teferet ve'etila Ha'ilai lecha dodi Ha'ilai likrat kala שבת, איי איי לקבלה, איי איי לך דודי, איי איי לקראת כלה, איי איי בני שבת, איי איי לקבלה, לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה, נרוש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה, איי 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 לך דודי, איי 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 לקראת כלה, איי 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 בני שבת, איי 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 לקבלה, איי 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 לך דודי, איי 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 לקראת כלה, איי 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 בני שבת, איי 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 לקבלה, מקדש מלך עיר מלוכה, קומי מצא מתוך ההפכה, רב לך שבט בעמק הבכה, והוא יחמול עלייך הילה, איי 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 לך דודי, איי 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 לקראת כלה, איי 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 בני שבת, איי 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 לקבלה, איי 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 לך דודי, איי 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 לקראת כלה, איי 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 בני שבת, איי 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 לקבלה, איי 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 איי
We're going to move to page 25, Yamin Usmol, the second paragraph.
ימין ושמאל תפרוצי, ואת אדוני תריצי, על ידי איש פן בצי, ונשמחה
Shabbat, B'nai Shabbat, You may be seated. It's now my pleasure to invite up Howard, also known as Heshi Zeppelin, to tell us a story.
Good Shabbos, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Hello.
I'm Howard Zeppelin, more commonly known as Heshi. Growing up on the West Side was marvelous. We went to Colfax School, Lake Junior High, North High School, along with my wife, Sherry Tobin. We have many friends today that were classmates way back then. After North, I went on to pharmacy school at CU in Boulder. And in 1965, while still in school, Sherry and I were married at the Alliance by Rabbi Lederman. He had also married Sherry's parents in 1937. The Zeppelin family and the Tobin family are longtime members of the Alliance. After college, I went to work for my father-in-law at Tobin's. Lou started Tobin's Pharmacy in 1936 on Colfax and Newton. In 1986, we hosted a huge block party for neighbors, friends, families, city dignitaries, and Rabbi Lederman, honoring the 50th anniversary of Tobin's Pharmacy. In early days, there were 5 or 6 pharmacies on West Colfax between Sheridan and Federal, all owned by Jewish pharmacists. Near the end, Tobin's was the only one left. Lou Tobin, my father-in-law, was legendary on West Colfax, admired by all. People came to Lou for medical advice prior to seeing a doctor or instead of seeing a doctor. As a sidelight, in the late 30s, early 40s, there was a boys' social club called the Arrows, who later became very prominent Denverites. They invited Lou and his wife Elsa to a reunion where they presented Lou with a bag of coins as atonement for the comic books and candy bars they had stolen years earlier. Tobin's was a landmark, a gathering place. Ice cream soda, ice cream, and 10-cent cherry Cokes for kids after school. Families around the soda fountain on a warm summer evening, long before Starbucks. And later, the yeshiva boys from down the block watching TV at Tobin's until they got hustled out by one of the rabbis. I bought the store from Lou in 1969, and he continued working for me until his passing in 1988. I remodeled the store and took out the soda fountain, much to the dismay of Lou. But times change, the neighborhood was changing. Jewish families were moving east. Mexican, Hispanic families were moving in. I was lucky enough to serve generations of families for my whole career, both Jewish and non-Jewish. In our diverse population at Tobin's, we carried a lot of old-time remedies not carried by the chain stores, such as Lydia Pinkham's swamp root liniment, Humphreys Homeopathics, Denver Mud, and Mexican Oil. We also carried a line of Mexican herbs. I was very fortunate, in addition to serving the neighborhood, to be the pharmacy provider for the Colorado Rockies and the Colorado Avalanche. Many retirees came to work part-time at Tobin's Pharmacy, including Morty's father, Harold Kadovitz. I was so fortunate to serve my neighborhood for 40 plus years, the neighborhood that I loved and grew up in. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Thank you so much, Heshi.
Heshi, I don't know if you knew, I think it's still possible to buy Mexican herb in Denver, but it might not be the same herb.
And with that, we turn to Sadi Katamar on page 28.
It's about a plant blossoming, right? Tzadikatamar yifrach Kerez Balbanon yizker sheturim evet Adonai bechatrot Eloheinu yafrichu od yenun besera deshenim verananim iyu lehagi ki ashar Adonai tzuri elo amlatavot.
It's now my pleasure to invite up our last West Side storyteller for this service, but the stories will continue on throughout the night and throughout our time as a community. Beth Radetzky, please come on down to share your story.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
It's great to see everybody here. Look what a full audience we have and attending this. I lived at 1661 Utica, and I want to share my story. It's a little bit different than the others. I have vivid memories of bicycle rides with my daddy on Sundays to Dempsey's. And it was a big deal because we had to cross Colfax, and I was just a little kid, 7 years old, so that was big. Crossing Colfax was, like 4 lanes. And we went into Dempsey's, and my father would order lox by the slice, not in a package, from the slab. And he'd say, is this thick enough? Do you want it thick? Do you want it thin? Slice. How many pieces do you need, Jimmy? And then I was on my tiptoes because I couldn't see over the counter. And then he ordered cream cheese. Cream cheese didn't come in a little tin thing with Philadelphia. It was a chunk. And so you got it by an inch. Do you want an inch or 2 inches or 3 inches? And it would depend who was coming for breakfast. So then the best part was for me was I got to put the package, which was a brown paper bag, in my basket because I had the bicycle with the basket, which was too big for me. The bike was too big for me. And we rode home and had a beautiful breakfast. So that is different than the way they do it now. We have lox in a package at Costco. Doesn't have the same flavor. Then he'd say, do you have any skin? Because he liked the skin of it because that had the rich kind of brown fatty part, and he would take that home along with cucumbers and tomatoes, and he liked red onion, which of course as a 7-year-old I was not going to do. But anyway, it was delicious, and we'd ride home and have our breakfast. So the next memory that I have, which is just like yesterday, is Rosh Hashanah. Nothing can take the place of those open houses. We'd get up, we'd get dressed in a pretty dress, black patent leather shoes, anklets, and we'd walk to Shul. And we'd, afterwards, with Rabbi Leirun, HEA, and we didn't live very far. We were, about a block and a half. And, of course, I was playing all the time, but then he would pick me up, and we'd skip to all the ladies' houses that had been preparing for Rosh Hashanah for weeks, baking, freezing, cooking, freezing. And each lady, each mommy had a specialty. This lady had potato kugel. This lady had pickles, homemade pickles. This lady made herring, not jarred. She went to the fishmonger, got a herring, pickled it, sliced it all, and with air kachel. This lady had chopped liver. And we'd go from place to place to place, and we'd walk in there, Jimmy, hi. And then I was greeted, you're Jimmy's daughter. And he was well-known and well-loved and liked for many reasons. All the things he did for the community. He was in the Colorado State Legislature, did many, many things for the Jewish community. And so I was Jimmy's daughter. And then, of course, there was always that little shot of schnapps or whiskey that they had. And the whole time, he was telling me, don't eat too much, because Mommy's got a wonderful dinner when we get home. So the way that worked was the first day of Rosh Hashanah was brisket, just to die for, falling from the fork. And the second day was turkey. I don't know which day was which because it's been a long time ago, but that was the tradition. And then she put out a spread of, So what I love about that is not just the food, but the openness, the friendliness, the warmth that those people had for me and my family. Everybody knew each other. You knew every neighbor, each for this was the Crescents, this was the Dismans, this was the Lappins, up and down, not just my block, but all the other blocks. And then I went to Auntie Frida's, and I went to Auntie Lena's, and I went to Auntie Selma's. We knew everybody. And that was the beauty of the West Side, of the warmth, the connection, the sharing. And although I couldn't provide that for my son, I did try to provide an open house. And all the kids came to my house to play because I was the one that had the hot chocolate when they were playing in the snow. I was the one that let them come in. And anyway, so that was my little kind of trying to do that. But it's different style, different, it changed. And that was the best I could do. But those are my memories of the beautiful West Side and the warmth and the open doors. And if your mommy wasn't home, I could go to that mommy's house. So anyway, so much for the West Side. It was wonderful.
Thank you. Yasher Koach. Thank you, Beth. Now, your story was making me very hungry. I'm sure making all of us very hungry. Thankfully, dinner is not too far off. We have a couple more songs and prayers to sing, and then we'll conclude our service. We're going to turn now to page 58.
Hearing about the popcorn man and the corsage box and the locks and the atonement for stealing comic books, I'm feeling this warm glow over that period of time in that place. And this tune that we're going to be singing from the Kaddish Le'ela is all about transcendence, Le'ela, beyond. And so I wanted to give us the opportunity to allow that warm glow to transcend beyond just that time and place. So as we're singing this song, I invite you to bring that warm glow into your mind and then take a little bit of a scoop of it and place it on the future of this community. bring some of that warm glow into where we're all going together.
Having grown up in Southern California as the son of immigrants, I wasn't used to people who had deep roots in their hometown and felt that connection. And what amazing stories we heard tonight. And over the 14 years that I've lived here, I love hearing all of these stories of the West Side. But you know where I hear most of these stories? Where do you think I hear most of these stories? At funerals and houses of Shiva. You know? And over the 14 years that I've been here at the Alliance, especially in the last, I'd say, 5 or 6, we've lost a generation of those original West Siders. Some of your parents or your peers over the last several years. And what I'm thinking about tonight is that storytelling is truly a Jewish spiritual practice. It's not just a way of transmitting our information, but it's really, you know, if you think about it, that's what Torah is too. It's our storytelling as a people, our heritage, and the stories that we tell one another. Just as right now we're telling the story of our people's wandering in the wilderness. That's why we sit in a sukkah tonight. But you know, what my kavanah for us tonight, as we're about to recite Mourner's Kaddish, is that whatever our personal stories are, that we not wait for funerals and houses of Shiva to tell those stories, right? That the spiritual practice of Jewish storytelling, I bless you to ask your parents and grandparents for those stories now, and to tell your children and grandchildren those stories all the time, so that we build that memory and connection across generations. Because someday somebody will be telling our stories, right, at a Shabbos service like this, or around a kitchen table. And we should be so blessed to have stories like these told about us someday. So we hold in our hearts all of those whose stories we hold and that we carry with us as we recite the words of the Mourner's Kaddish on page 58. And I invite mourners both here and at home and those for whom it is your custom to rise. Page 58. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Be'alma tivrach hirutei ve'amlich malchutei. B'chayechon uvyomeichon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael. B'gala v'zman kariv ve'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'me'omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudsha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. You can have a seat. I want to thank Rabbi Shulman and Eitan for putting together this evening, along with Cherie Carol Schwartz and our speakers tonight, our musicians. Thank you all to also to Shira and Morty, who made the whole evening possible tonight. So in a little while, when we conclude the service, we're going to head into the sukkah. I'm going to encourage you to make your way to that sukkah quickly, find a place so that we can start our meal together with blessings. We'll start with the Shabbat blessings and the blessing for sitting in the sukkah. And I just invite you all to enjoy the evening. Maybe it's a good night for some storytelling at your tables too. Get to know one another and tell each other a little bit about your stories, your family's stories. If you'd like to hear more of the stories of the West Side, Shira put together this beautiful booklet with Cherie, and it's full of wonderful stories of the West Side. You're welcome to, we invite you to please take one on your way out tonight, on the way to the sukkah. Shira, you have more? One per household. Thank you. Thank you. And we'll conclude our service now.
You know this one. And then we're going to have it as little traveling nigun on our way out here.
La
Yeah, save me a spot.
Glad we were alive today. Somehow.
I wanted to do this to you so bad. Don't be disappointed.
And he was working. And
I mean, we need to
over there called and said, we're putting you on the ticket. And I don't want to be in the ticket. I don't know anything about politics. I don't like politics. I read about it and then I vote. Leave me alone. Hold on. Told them no. And they put him on the ticket.
Oh my gosh.
What was his problem? That's all right. He was transactions, divorces, wills, real estate.
Oh, don't forget to
But that is why, when you go to those funerals, think about it. I'm not kidding you. It's a big deal. And the reason why the non-kosher meat does not have mad cows
playing with you.
is because he jumped on that bill. And the farmers called him up and threatened him and said, get off the bill or we'll make sure you're not reelected. And he didn't. That's how filthy. I mean, because it costs them money. But it's okay. You get in common for 20 years.
What you're used to? Could you hold this for me? And hold this for me?